Hello, welcome to a new video, Dynasty War. I'm going to talk about a very good combination that I use in Alliance Dungeon, and in this video I'll just focus on the two heroes that I think is necessary in, at least in my army composition. The other two heroes and the troops that I use, they can vary and they could change from time to time, but these two heroes I always use them because they are very strong in Alliance Dungeon. The first one is Sima and the second one is Zhao. So I made a video about Zhao Yun's skill already, and his skill actually buffed his attack speed by a lot. And right now at level 11, it actually buffs his attack speed by 100%. His skill is a passive skill, so he has a 15-second cooldown, but his skill actually lasts for 10 seconds, so there is only a 5-second period where he doesn't have that 100% attack speed buff. And for Sima, I'll probably make a video about him very soon, but basically his skill will buff himself and the troops and heroes surrounding him. This buff include damage buff and attack speed buff. So in Alliance Dungeon, the buildings have a lot of HP, so you want to have as much DPS as possible. And Zhao Yun, as a 7-star sword hero, he has a pretty high DPS already, and because sword hero takes 1.2 seconds to do one attack, that means his actual damage per attack is actually higher than the listed DPS. At level 60, his listed DPS is 669, so each attack that he does is actually more than that. And actually, using Zhao Yun just by himself in Alliance Dungeon is already pretty good because every 15 seconds he gets his attack speed buff that can push his DPS way higher, and he can do a lot of damage in that time. So using Zhao Yun by himself is already pretty good, so why do we use Sima Yi with him? Because Sima Yi's buff include a damage buff that will always apply to Zhao Yun if he's in the range, and that lasts for 18 seconds. Now, Sima Yi's buff also include attack speed buff, but that's much lower, and the attack speed will not stack together. However, the attack speed from Zhao Yun's skill and the damage buff from Sima Yi's skill will go together. So you have a Zhao Yun with a 85% damage buff plus his own 100% attack speed buff. So right now, currently my Sima Yi is at level 12 skill. That gives 85 damage buff and 45% attack speed buff. And this skill lasts for 18 seconds. So if you time it correctly, you can actually get Zhao Yun to activate his skill 2 times during the 18 seconds of Sima Yi's buff. So what we're doing right now is giving a very high damage buff to Zhao Yun and then use his own crazy amount of attack speed. This works really well when you have the golden treasure for your sword hero as well. And for me, I have the 25% increase in damage and 24% increase in attack speed. So my Zhao Yun is actually very strong in Alliance Dungeon when he's also in Sima Yi's buff. So right now I'm going to do a little bit of math for the maximum DPS that my Zhao Yun can get. So right now his base DPS is 669. So with Sima Yi's 85% damage buff plus the 25% from the golden treasure, that is 110% damage increase. Now for the attack speed, I have 24 from the golden treasure and 45% from Sima Yi's buff, and that add up to 69%. This 69% will apply to Zhao Yun when his passive skill is not activated, when his own skill is not activated. And during this time, his new DPS is actually over 2000, 2300. And if his own skill activated, the 100% attack speed will replace the 45% from Sima Yi's. So his new attack speed buff is 124. And now his new DPS jumps to over 3000. So what that means is if he can stand still and attack for 10 seconds straight, he by himself will do over 30,000 damage already. And keep in mind that it is possible that you can have 2 cycles of this if you time their skills correctly. But obviously that is assuming that he did not die in that the whole time, and he actually does not have to move around from buildings to buildings. And that is why it's actually possible in Alliance Dungeon, because they have so much hit point. He probably just stands still and just keep poking at the same building for over 20 seconds. It is possible that you can do over 60,000 damage for Zhao Yun. And this is why Zhao Yun and Sima Yi, this combination works really well in Alliance Dungeon, because just him by himself can do such a huge amount of damage. And obviously, Sima Yi's buff does not only apply to one hero, it applies to other hero and other troops as well. And this combination doesn't only work with Dom 2, you need Sima, and then you just need another hero that his own skill could buff his own attack speed, just like Zhao Yun does. And this is it for this video. You should try it out and see how it works. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.